Hello and welcome back to Popcorn Chat. I hope you guys are doing well. This week's video is one of those monthly catch-ups where I tell you what I've been watching, and this time it's about what I watched in the month of April. So let's run through some of the films that I watched last month. So we have Death Becomes Her, Run, Submarine, which was a rewatch, They Live, The Call, Love and Monsters, An American Werewolf in London, Promising Young Woman, Stowaway, Palm Springs, Shazam and Concrete Cowboy. So as you can see from that list, there's a mixture of films and there's some new films on there, be it they released this year or they've just been put onto a streaming platform, and I was also able to squeeze in one more Oscar nominated film. So some of my favourites from that list have to be The Call, Promising Young Woman, An American Werewolf in London and Palm Springs. So The Call was a film that was recommended to us to watch in terms of like a sort of psychological thriller. It was really well paced. I thought it was brilliantly performed by Halle Berry. It's mainly sort of set in a response centre and Halle Berry's the lead character, and what she can do just by reacting to people's phone calls and just within her face was absolutely amazing in this film. It's very intense. The actual sort of killer stalker in this, it's absolutely terrifying, I will say that, but I really enjoyed it. So if you're into psychological thrillers, definitely check out The Call. I think that was on Netflix. So I'd never seen American Werewolf in London, so I was sort of flicking through the magazines on Sunday and I saw that it was on the TV on a really random channel at a really late time of night, so I thought I'll record that and give that one a watch, and I was really pleasantly surprised. I know there's a lot of talk about the sort of the prosthetics and the practical effects that they could do at the time and how sort of groundbreaking they were. Obviously looking at it now, what we've been able to do in terms of those sort of areas within the last 50 years is amazing. So it's a little bit dated, I will be honest and say that, but overall I just found the film like really fascinating. I loved that we didn't really see a werewolf for a long time. It was much more like characters and the sort of atmosphere, especially like it starts off in Yorkshire then moves to London. I loved like the characters within this film, so I'll definitely be revisiting that film again. So last month we were finally able to watch Promising Young Woman here in the UK. It was available on Sky or Now TV, so we were able to watch that and I really enjoyed it. I think there was some great moments in it. They were a little bit on the nose, I guess you could say. It wasn't perfect by any means, but like I loved what the story was trying to say. It was humorous. Like I think there were definitely sections that were meant to be funny, and there were some other elements that were a bit shocking and maybe a bit eye-opening to some people who weren't aware of this sort of situation day to day for women. But the ending had me a little bit confused. I wasn't fully sold on the sort of scheduled text and stuff like that, but I would have been interested to see a different ending maybe. But I loved it. I still really enjoyed the film. I'd love to watch it again and see how my perception of it might change. And then we have Palm Springs, which was a film I didn't want to watch the trailer for. I saw a lot of people talking about it again because it came onto Amazon Prime. It's very simple at its core, and I didn't think it would have this element of like sort of like Groundhog Day-esque, but you'd think that sort of style has been, you know, worn to the ground. Like you'd think it's been overused, but it hasn't. Like in this it's really effective and the character dynamic, it's funny, it's really funny. So obviously it's got Andy Samberg in, so if you like his sort of humour, and it's Lonely Island produced as well, so if you're into that I think you'll like this film. But it has that sort of indie feel to it as well, and I really enjoyed it. So if you haven't seen it, do watch it. I think it's only an hour and a half and that's on Amazon Prime. So as for my least favourite films last month, this is a little bit tricky because I generally think the films that I watched within that list were all pretty good. However, the ones that I probably enjoyed the least were Love and Monsters, mainly because I found it quite predictable. I think Dylan O'Brien carries that film 100%. However, it was just very predictable in terms of the narrative and the beats. The character did anything like unexpected, so I was a little bit disappointed in the narrative of that film. But otherwise, you know, the performances were good, but I was a little bit disappointed in that one. And then also I would say Stowaway. I didn't know much about Stowaway, but it was one of the films that was featured on the Netflix homepage. You know, it just starts to play the trailer and I thought, okay, I can see Toni Collette, Anna Kendrick. I was willing to give this a go because of the cast mainly, and I thought it started out well, but the last sort of half of the film, nothing really happened, things weren't explained, which is a shame because I think they had a really good core cast and they had a good platform you know, being sort of isolated in space, but I don't think they used it to its full capacity. So in terms of TV that I've been watching, do I even need to say it? It's been the same for the last 2 months. It's One Tree Hill. I've managed to get onto season 5 at the minute, so right now as I'm recording this I'm in mid-season 5. But I don't have times for other TV shows. Like I would, you know, rather watch a film and it's over. I just can't take it, and I need to focus on one TV show at a time. But I did rewatch a couple episodes of Buffy last week and the week before, I think it was, and I was doing it to get involved for like this quiz that I was doing. But so yeah, I dipped into a few Buffy episodes, but otherwise it's been purely One Tree Hill, and it's going in a very different direction. I would definitely say that, because season 4 we saw them finish high school, that was all wrapped up, and season 5 they jumped 4 years later, but I'm sure I can touch upon that in this video in a month's time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video of wrapping up what I watched in the month of April. Hopefully there's a few recommendations for you. Netflix has got some great films, Amazon Prime's got some great films, so hopefully I've inspired you to check some of those out or avoid some of those films. But I will see you very soon in another popcorn chat.